I've always thought of food as a love language. It's a way of caring for ourselves and others. Through food, we can share our traditions with each other and pamper our loved ones with dietary needs with recipes that aren't just delicious, but nourish the soul. It's a way of coming together. And when we infuse our food with love and caring, it makes the world a better place.
Cooking with Steph.
Hello, everyone out there in the virtual world of social media. My name is Stephanie Lynn Mason, and welcome to episode 1 of Food is a Love Language, Cooking with Steph. Being a part Italian girl, as I am, today's recipe is near and dear to my heart. Chicken Parmesan was always a favorite, but today we're going to do a little twist. We're going to make fresh pesto chicken parm over roasted spaghetti squash with a side of roasted Brussels sprouts. Now you may think, whoa, that sounds really hard, intimidating. No, it's super easy, and we're going to go through it step by step, and it'll be no problem at all. So step 1, we have our spaghetti squash. Now, danger, danger, danger. You have to be very careful doing this. Stay tuned for the bloopers if you want to see me fail absolutely miserably. But anyways, if you find that your spaghetti squash is being a little bit stubborn, stick some forks in it literally, pop it in the microwave for a couple minutes, and then try slicing it again. It'll make it a little bit easier. So we're gonna put this in here. We have our beautiful halves of the spaghetti squash. Now we still have some seeds in there and we've got to scrape them out. We're going to take a little bowl, hold your squash as so. I'm just gonna scrape it out. Sometimes it can get a little messy. You might have seeds going everywhere. It's fine, totally not a big deal. If you have some little stringies at the end, it's totally cool. Alrighty then, so we finished scraping out our spaghetti squash, and now it's time to put these little suckers on a baking sheet. Here we go. And now for the fun part. So, in order to get these spaghetti squash nice and caramelized when you cook it, we're going to take a little bit of olive oil, and we're gonna drizzle these puppies. Okay, so we're gonna take a little bit of salt, maybe more than just a little. I'm gonna take a little bit of pepper, a little bit more there. Now, we use our hands and we get in there to make sure that the olive oil and the salt and pepper is evenly distributed on the inside of the spaghetti squash so it becomes nice and caramelized. It's gonna be delicious. Now, we flip these puppies over. I don't know about you, but I have just a wee bit of COVID energy pent up, and now is the perfect time to take it out on the spaghetti squash. We're going to take a fork and we're going to puncture holes in the skin of our spaghetti squash so that the steam comes out and it cooks all the way through and it's nice and tender. The olive oil, these can get a little slippery. Okie dokie, now it's time to get these guys in the oven at 375 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes. Okay, so while those guys are roasting in the oven, it's time to make our breadcrumbs. Now, my grandma Annie, who used to have anywhere between 10 to 20 people over on the weekends for Sunday dinner, she used to make her own breadcrumbs for all of her Italian dishes. And while you could buy them at the grocery store, when you make your own, it really elevates your dish to a new level and adds some subtlety and complexity. And the first thing you're gonna need is a handy dandy food processor. KitchenAid and Cuisinart both make them. They're simple. You can use them for breadcrumbs, sauces, pie crusts, all kinds of things. And they really just are a great appliance that help you do a plethora of different recipes. So we're going to take the lid off of the food processor, and you need 2 pieces of white bread. Now, If you're gonna use something like Wonder or Schwebels, let it sit out on the counter and dry out for a couple of hours, because you don't wanna put super, for lack of a better word, moist bread in the food processor and have it get all goopy. So I have my 2 pieces of bread, and now you just rip it up and put it in there. I'm gonna go ahead and break these down a little bit. Okie dokie. Now we are going to put in 1/3 to about 1/2 cup of chopped onion. About 1/3 cup of parsley leaves, not the stems, just the leaves. And last but certainly not least, Grandma's secret ingredient, 1/4 to 1/3 cup of grated fresh Romano cheese. Oh, yeah! Okay, here we go. Oh, it smells like Grandma's house. Okay, so we are going to set these aside. And we're going to clean out our food processor. What time is it? Pesto time. Now, my fiance loves pesto, and he was actually the inspiration for this dish, taking regular chicken parmesan and turning it into pesto chicky parm. So, first things first, we're going to need 2 cups of fresh basil leaves, not the stems, just the leaves. Sprinkle these guys in there. There we go. Whoop. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of pine nuts, 4 cloves of chopped garlic. Time to break it down now. Now, as we keep mixing on low, we're going to add between 1/2 and 3/4 cup of olive oil. Last and not least, again, we have our grated Parmesan cheese, about 2/3 of a cup. Oh, that smells absolutely glorious. I think I need to have a little taste. So this is why it's important to always taste your pesto. It might taste a little bitter or leafy. So if that ever happens, just add a little bit of olive oil. All right, we're gonna taste this again. New spoon, no double dipping. That's delightful. So now we're going to take this, put it in a container, put our dishes in the sink, and set everything aside. Ooh, I think our squash is done. Time to get it out. Oh, these look absolutely perfect. We're going to flip these guys over. Bam, and bam. Look at this beautiful caramelization. This is exactly what we're looking for. So we're gonna push these back. and let these cool while we get our chicken ready. It's time to start on the most important part of the dish, our chicken. Get these out of the fridge. Don't want you to see the skeletons in the closet. Okay, let's unwrap these guys. Now that that's unwrapped, first things first, we gotta make our egg wash. So we're going to take 2 eggs and crack them. All right, crack the other one. And now we whisk. Okay, so now that we got our eggs beaten, it's time to get our chicken ready, breaded, and put in that pan. So you take a little bit of salt. You salt both sides of your chicken breast. Take your pepper, little bit of pepper. Now, you dip it in your egg wash, and then whoop, you're gonna get it all nice in those breadcrumbs and generously coat these babies because more breadcrumbs, better it'll taste. All right. I always put a little extra on top here for good measure. All right, here we go. Whoop. One more. Almost done. Get it nice and coated. And there we go. Yeah, I always make sure they're evenly spaced and add just a little bit of breadcrumbs on top after you're all done for good measure. Okay, now no one likes dried chicken breast. So we're going to take about 1/4 cup of melted butter and about 2/3 cup of olive oil, mix it together, and we're going to give our chicken breasts a nice little bath while they bake and pour this in the bottom of the pan. There we go. Put some on each side. And I always take the dish and just jiggle it around a little bit. Okie dokie. So your oven should still be at 375 from the spaghetti squash. So we're going to take our chicken breasts and let them cook for about 35 minutes. I always like to pair this dish with a sensible vegetable. So, beef or Brussels sprouts are good enough for me. I've always been a huge Sesame Street fan, and when my mom used to do my hair when I was a kid, my dad literally used to have finger puppets and go through the entire alphabet with different foods. So here we go. We're gonna take our olive oil. This is the easiest part of the whole thing, and fun. You drizzle. Then we add some sea salt. Be generous. Some lemon pepper. And then we take our hands, we get in there, and we mush it all up. Yeah. Whoops. That little guy tried to get away from me. Okay. So we're going to put these in the oven with the chicken, same temperature, and you shouldn't have to set another timer because these will be done when your chicken is completely done cooking. There we go. Now, let's get this squash ready. Remember that pent-up COVID energy I was talking about earlier? We get to take it out on our spaghetti squash again. So we take a fork, and now these are cool to the touch. We put it into our bowl, and we're going to scrape the spaghetti squash like this, like you can see. It should be stringy. I love spaghetti squash because it gives me the feel that I'm eating pasta, but I'm not eating pasta. I'm eating something way healthier for me. I love pasta, don't get me wrong. Get rid of that for now. And now we take our beautiful spaghetti squash and we're going to toss it with some of our delectable pesto. So we're gonna use a little bit. We don't wanna use too much because we need to save plenty for our chicken. There we go. And we toss. You want to toss this so that all of your spaghetti squash is getting some pesto love. And to make sure it's nice and evenly distributed. Okie dokie. Now that our 35-minute timer has gone off, we are in the home stretch and we have one more step to do before our chicken is done cooking, but we gotta get out of the oven first. Okay. Oh, wow. This is looking so good. Our breadcrumbs are browning nicely and we're almost there. And now it's time to add our homemade pesto. So you put about a spoon, couple spoons on there, spread it around. I always like to make sure I get plenty on there, and then if I have some left over at the end, I'll add it. Yeah. And last but certainly not least, a generous amount of shredded mozzarella cheese. Oh yeah! I really love cheese. All right, they're going back in the oven for 10 minutes. All right, dinner is ready to come out. Look at this. Oh my goodness, this looks absolutely delectable. I am so excited to eat this. But first, we have to put it on our plate. So, take a little bit of our spaghetti squash, put it on the side here, a little bit more there. Whoop. And then we get out a piece of our chicken. Oh, look at that cheese. Woohoo! And then we spoon some of our Brussels sprouts on here. And now we have our beautifully plated dinner. I am so excited to take a bite. Oh. Blow on it. You don't want to burn your tongue. This is so delicious. We have the pesto blended with the rich and creamy cheese and your chicken with the spaghetti squash. Everything just works perfectly together, and you have a meal that is delicious, nutritious, a little bit naughty, a little bit nice, and I'm a happy camper. What can I say? Thank you so much for joining me for the first episode of Food is a Love Language, Cooking with Steph. I wish I could reach through all the devices right now and just give you all a great big hug. Please stay safe and healthy during these times. Food really is a love language, and when we take care of one another, we can make the world a better place. Pretty soon, before you know it, we'll all be able to gather in person again. And until then, join me next time, and I'll see you soon.
Cooking with Steph.